today we're in Castle Douglas at the Mart, where I've experienced many triumphs and disasters in the sale ring with my cattle. The symbol of Wallet's Marts on their letterhead is a globe with two arrows circumventing the globe. And that is a symbol for what they've been doing since 1856, exporting Scottish pedigree cattle around the world. Now, the Skexiteers would tell you that we need to get out of the UK to liberate Scotland, to allow us to move forward as an independent nation. I have to tell you that is nonsense. We've been doing this for centuries. Scots, and in particular Scottish farmers and Scottish farm managers, have been going out across the world and improving the agriculture in those countries and taking with them great Scottish beef breeds like the Aberdeen Angus. And that's why there are more Aberdeen Angus cattle in the state of Texas than there are in the whole of Scotland. Now, I can tell you that as a farmer, I actually voted against Brexit because I was worried about a hard Brexit. But I can tell you now that we have weathered Brexit and it is no longer a threat to my business. The big threat is from Skexit. We've already seen the damage that's been done to Northern Irish agriculture from a botched Brexit with a hard border now in the Irish Sea. So what would happen if the same thing happened to Scottish businesses, Scottish farming, like I'm in farming, but other businesses would be affected as well, with a hard border at Gretna, a hard Skexit. I think the experience of the EU border now just beyond Stranraer tells us that the only way that Nicola Sturgeon can get what she wants is to make the kind of sacrifices that Boris Johnson made with a border in the Irish Sea. And the number of times I have been here selling cattle, and what has kept the price up has been the English buyers. At an auction, you need bidders. And if some of those bidders aren't there, then you don't get the prices. The other thing that you have to understand is that Scottish agricultural products, beef and lamb in particular, get a premium in English supermarkets. There is such a thing, a measurable thing, as a Scotch beef premium. So every time Nicola Sturgeon opens her mouth to say something bad about the English, what does that do to our brands in English supermarkets? And quite often, I've seen it happen after the SNP have said something particularly Anglophobic. There is a dip in our tourist market where we see fewer bookings from English tourists, and in the Scotch beef premium. I want to remove this threat to my business. I don't want this hanging over me, and I absolutely hate the toxic divisions in Scottish society. Let's kick them out on the 6th of May. We've had enough. I am absolutely disgusted that the Scottish Tories and the Scottish Labour Party seem only interested in coming second. The Scottish Tories' strapline on their leaflets is "Let's stop the SNP getting an overall majority." Well, from my perspective, in the Scottish countryside, actually an SNP minority in government with their gardening section, the Greens, has been even worse than an SNP majority might have been. And there's the Anas Sarwar saying he wants to be the best opposition. Well, I can tell you, All for Unity is not here to be an opposition. We want to be in government, in coalition, with the Tories, with the Labour Party, with the Liberals. We're not fussy. We're holding our noses and advising people to vote for these people in the constituencies. Tactical voting is the way to get rid of the SNP toxic never-endum on the 6th of May. Let's do it. First vote for the party most likely to beat them. Second vote on the orange ballot paper, all for unity. Thank you.
Whoa! Nice one.
Thank you, Jamie Blackett. Your speeches are becoming more and more stirring as we approach the witching hour on the 6th of May. And they are not just coming from your heart, but through the portals of your own life experience. And what a life experience Jamie Blackett has had in the army, as a writer, as a columnist, and of course as a significant farmer. Through the portals of all of these experiences, you have looked at the ugly face of conflict and division and seek to avoid it here on our small island. An island that has been united for more than 300 years. Our motto, if we had one, would be forward. We want to go forward for Scotland, with Scotland, not backwards, not 7 centuries backwards, which is essentially what our main opponents in Scottish politics want to do. I mentioned 700 years ago because, of course, a significant feature of Scottish politics today is a film made by an extremely dodgy Australian about 2 French-speaking kings fighting over who would own the serfs and the land that they worked, with Scottish people fighting on both sides. Now that is the antithesis of forward, is it not? Alex Salmond actually hired an army of extras to reenact that 700-year-old battle and sought to persuade you that this was what you should have in mind when you cast your vote on the 6th of May. Not the state of Scotland's schools, so bad that the OECD inquiry into them has had to be locked up until after the election. Not the state of child poverty in this country of ours, which is significantly worse than it was when the SNP came to power over 14 years ago. Not the state of our care homes, where thousands of our old people were sent to die without as much as a face mask to protect them or the people that were looking after them. Not the state of Scotland's economy, where we've gone from being the world's greatest shipbuilders to people that cannot build 2 ferries for the islands, except at a cost overrun of hundreds of millions of pounds. Years of delay, and they're still sitting there, rusting with the windows painted on them. Alex doesn't want you to think about these things. He doesn't want you to think about the public realm which the SNP has presided over. In fact, he's asking you to vote for the SNP, the same SNP that tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. Now, I've seen many strange things in a long life in politics, but I've never seen a man going around telling people to vote for those that conspired to destroy his life. You might be wondering why I'm sore about Alex Salmond right now. Well, I'll tell you why. I've just learned from the BBC that Alex Salmond has reneged on the opportunity to have a debate with me about separatism. about unionism. 3 days before polling day, prime time on BBC Scotland. A 20-minute debate, just him and me. No questioners, no interviewers in the way, just a debate between me and Alex Salmond. And he's chickened out. He's run away. Alba's banner, it turns out, is a white cross on a white background. Chicken Alex. He'll always be for me from now on. Now, I quite like Alex Salmond. I defended him when they tried to put him away. I was the only person that predicted he'd be acquitted. He was a friend of mine in Parliament for decades. I was looking forward to the debate. A heavyweight championship bout between the best exponent of the separatist cause and the best exponent of the cause for Scotland in the Union. The more astute of you will already have noticed that the television has done everything it could to pretend that I don't exist. Since I came back to Scotland, more than 6 months ago, not one television broadcaster or journalist has been in touch with me until the launch of our manifesto, when their entire purpose was to distort and to dirty the campaign that we have launched. The radio has never been in touch at all. I've been a radio personality for 20 years, but I can't get on the Scottish radio, even though I'm actually broadcasting to the world now and indeed every night of the week. But I'm not good enough to get on Radio Clyde. You've got to laugh. You really got to laugh. A Scottish nationalist has just been convicted of threatening to shoot me in the head in his own name on Twitter. It didn't even get reported on Scottish radio and television. So the more astute of you will realize that not only are they doing everything they can to avoid me, you've already worked out why. And this is the why. Nobody will stand up to the SNP like I can, like I do, like I always have. And I always have because I always thought that breaking up Britain would be an abomination. Breaking up Britain at any time would be an abomination. But breaking up Britain now, as we emerge from a deadly pandemic, which has killed well over 100,000 of our people, and the economic wreckage which must necessarily come in the wake of such a pandemic, well, frankly, you'd need your head examined if you thought this was a good time to break up Britain, to wrench Scotland from Great Britain. You really would need your head examined if you thought that. Now, lastly, because I have several other speeches to make today, next one's in Stranraer in an hour and a half. Lastly, there's a lot of talk about Boris Johnson being a liar and a deceiver. Unlike some, I've always thought that. I once heard Boris Johnson say in the House of Commons cafe that he was so hungry he could eat a horse. I almost press released it. Boris Johnson eats horses. But I've always thought he was a liar and a cheat. I've always thought he was a deceiver. But I'll tell you what, he couldn't hold a candle to Nicola Sturgeon. And for her to be talking about Tory sleaze, talking about nothing else except Tory sleaze, you'd think Boris Johnson was on the ballot paper here in Scotland, but he's not. And if Nicola Sturgeon wants to talk sleaze, I could talk from Derek Mackay, from John Swinney's education curriculum, and the filth that he is asking our teachers to teach our children, all the way to the fumbling, fingering chief whip of the SNP MPs in Scotland. Even women SNP MPs turn out to be alleged sexual miscreants. I could talk about sleaze. I could talk about Gupta and the mysterious dinner that Fergus Ewing had with him, on which there is no email, no text, no telephone conversations. How did he even know which restaurant to go to? You're going to find out in due course what happened at those dinners between the SNP and Mr. Gupta. And you're going to find out because you're going to pay for it. Hundreds of millions of pounds. If I get into Holyrood, I promise you this, I will open the books. And that, in the end, is what they are most afraid of. I'm George Galloway, and I'm here to see the books. Thanks very much for watching.